session, we'll try to understand what is AWS Code Deploy and why do we require it, and how do we integrate with other AWS managed service that comes under developer tools. Fine. So in previous videos, we come across quite developer tools, that is AWS Code Commit, Code Build, as well as Code Pipeline. So we just understand that code commit is something similar to the GitHub, so there is nothing much difference, but AWS Code Commit is completely private repo. As well as once we have something to store our code or to commit our changes to store the code securely, so thereafter we need to run the file, right? So we need to run the file to execute our application, so to get the expected output. So during run we perform multiple things, like if you are going with Java, obviously the maven will be the used to get the jar file. So when we are going with Python, we will be using the Python libraries as well as, right? So anyhow, we already even come across with code build also, how it works, and what is the advantages going with it, and also the pipeline. So why we integrate the pipeline? Just to automate the things, so without human intervention in between the process. So automate all those things, we require pipeline, right? So we need to link all the different stages with the help of pipeline, that is from code commit, build, deploy. To link three different tools, we required a pipeline. So even we saw that how we integrate the pipeline too. So only thing we are left with is all code deploy. So we haven't, even though we already have seen the static application deployed using the S3 buckets, but still we haven't saw the code deploy tool along where we can deploy it in the EC2 instance or many other things. Okay, so we'll just dive into the object of this session, that is AWS Code Deploy. Okay, so the agenda of this session will cover all these things. So we'll try to understand what is AWS Code Deploy and some key features of Code Deploy, and why we use AWS Code Deploy, and how it is going to work, deployment strategies, even we do have the deployment strategies here, and similar tools to code deploy. Okay, so let us understand that it starts with AWS Code Deploy. Okay, so the AWS Code Deploy is also fully managed service which is provided by the AWS. So it's a fully managed development service that automates the process of deploying the application. So till the previous video, we already know that build is completely made automation, but we did not specify there the deployment where I wanted to deploy and all, right? So if in case if an organization keep releasing the updates, so in that case how it is going to happen? So if any commit has if new commit got exist, so automatically by default that the build will happen and the test will undergoes as mentioned. It could be unit testing, system testing, everything will be done, and post that the deployment should be done only after certifying the test, right? So the deployment should be even gone with the automation, so there need not to someone come and interfere between the test as well as the final deployment. To do those things, we use code deploy. Okay, we'll go and understand in practical so that we can grasp things as a thing. Okay, process deployment application to various compute service such as Amazon EC2. We can deploy it on EC2 on-premises service, Lambda functions, or even the Elastic container also we can have it. Okay, so it's a primary goal. It is a facilitate the deployment of application reliable and efficient within the minimal downtime. So without making your application unavailable to the end users, we can go in with code deploy for deploying the application. So once the build is success, automatically the code deploy will be done. Okay. So the code deploy supports various deployment strategies, including rolling updates, blue-green deployment. We'll go and understand what is blue-green deployments and in-place updates, making it suitable for both traditional as well as modern architecture. Okay, so we just understand that why do we require code deploy, and we'll try to come across some features what exactly they want or they offer. So support device development targets, that is, so work with EC2 on premises, that is we can integrate with available things, and also customizable deployment strategies too. So okay, so what exactly all those things? So rolling, that is a blue green, as well as in place deployment. So fine. So customizable deployment, so either we can roll your application in plain things, or we can go with the blue green deployment model also, and we can optimize the minimal, that is downtime of application, and automates, so handles the deployment lifecycle automatically. So no need to someone to keep monitoring the process. So if anything got encountered during the execution, that is if the build got failed or the deployment got failed, so automatically the through SNS the notification will be set up, and we can directly able to get notified. On that case, we have to pay attention to the desired stage, so it's required on that case. Until unless we don't require to pay any attention, so because the things are going fine, right, including starting, stopping service, copying the file, as well as running the script. So once if we have done and if we are ready with all the scripts, it's need not to required and again to go and update the things. Okay, so for monitoring, definitely we will be going with CloudWatch as well as AWS Cloud Trail for monitoring, and also the support automatic rollback in case of failure. So assume that the version 2.0 is got released, but the build got success, but automatically the deployment failed due to some reasons. In those case, automatically the whatever the pipeline has been happened, it will be rolled back to its original state. Fine. So multi-platform also. So work with application written in any language. So it's not only limited to any one kind of technology. So even if you have written in .NET or Java, Python, Ruby, Go, irrespective of language, we can have it. Fine. So we already understood how can be accessed, or how can we run different environment, since we will be using the servers, which is not at all manually configured, but it's been managed by the AWS, right? So while creating the build, we saw, right? Likewise, even while deploying the code also, we go and manage the servers too. Okay, so by use of AWS Code Deploy, so consistency, so automates and standardize deployment across environment. So it will going to automate the process, right, once we have set up everything. So from there onwards, we need not to pay any attention to it. Minimize the downtime, so we already know that is in case of any upgradation is going on, or releasing or replacing the new version could delay in downing or blocking the application to access the end users, to avoid any mistransactions. So that can be optimized here. And even I just come across, right, rollback safety, so provide mechanisms for automatic rollback in case of deployment error. So if any stages got errors, automatically the set will be rolled back, that is the previous version will retain as it is, and the newer version won't get merged or got deployed or got as it is, so it will be reversed or revoked, the whole process. Scalability, so easy deploy to few servers or thousands of instances, so we can manage how much we want and how much we require. And it is also the more cost effective. No additional cost, pay only for the underlying AWS resources. So code deploy, by deploying your application doesn't charge anything. So only the resource what we going to deploy, either it could be your EC2 instance, Lambda, and ECS, right? For those we will be paying the cost, but not for using the AWS Code Deploy. Okay. And how AWS Code Deploy work? So initially we need to specify the application to be deployed. Like assume that you are deploying some web application. You need to specify that what application you are trying to deploy, where you are trying to deploy, from where you are getting that application, everything. Okay. So define the target environment for deployment. I just mentioned, right? Where do you want to deploy your application? So anyhow the pipeline is been set up, and the code deploy, in code deploy we will mention that. So once the build is success, after that where it should be deployed. So to handle all those things we require some APIs, right? Okay. For that we will be using the code deploy. So here the code deploy is an agent. Okay, it's an agent we use to manage the servers. Okay. So we need to automate, right? So it's an agent to do all those process. So once we have set up it, fine. Okay, so define the target environment, that is where you are trying to deploy your application. So we need to choose that. So prepare the app specification.yaml or appspecs.yaml. So here we will be mentioning that define deployment instruction. So that is from where you need to copy the build file. Okay, from where you need to copy and from where you need to paste it, and once after paste what command needs to be run to run your application, all those things. Okay. So like file location, scripts to run before and after deployment. So if you have any specific things to be deployed, or sorry, installed on your server, means you can write that also, or else you can directly deploy. Okay, that is one thing. And another thing is deploy, that is a stat deployment through the AWS management console, or we can go with the CLI also. Okay. And monitoring, so obviously we'll, when it comes to the keyword called monitoring, we go directly into the CloudWatch. Okay. So here is the app specification file, how it looks. So we will be mentioning the version and the type of an operating system we will be using. Under that, what files we are trying to copy and we are trying to store in our server. This is the source, means from where you are trying to copy, and what, from which place you need to place it, that is the destination. Okay. So from source I will be copying and pasting it to the HTML. Okay. And hooks is nothing but the operation which needs to be done once after copying. So these are the steps, that is before install. So we can specify the path of the location. In .sh file we will be provided the set of commands, so what needs to be installed. If you are going with this script, means we need to have the Apache 2 server to be installed, right? So that can be installed, and the duration will be specified and run as root. So the admin privilege will be provided to run these commands. So once after completion of installing the required pre-required dependency, so what needs to be passed to run your server, even that script will be written inside the things. Fine. So the app specification, some things look similar to it, but you can customize. So if you don't know how to get this or how to type this app specification, just go and get the or refer the documentation. So once after referring to the documentation, for a few days you can go with any of the open source boards like ChatGPT things. So you just need to provide the proper input keywords to get the scripts. Okay. Even after getting the script, I am not saying that it will be accurate. So you need to optimize and rearrange the configuration things as per your requirement. So always be ensure that to do. Okay, so deployment strategies. So we in second slides we come across in initial slide only we come across we do have a different deployment strategies, right? So we'll try to understand. Okay, in place, that is rolling the deployment. So these are the two kinds. In which kind you wanted to deploy your application is up to the organizations. Okay, so if you are going with in place, so update the existing instance directly may involve brief downtime during the update process. So what they are trying to say when you are gone with the in place deployment, so assume that you have already deployed your application in an EC2 instance. So it is running as good as possible. Okay, and people are trying to access well and good. In meantime, the version 2 has been ready to deploy. That is, the developer have committed, the build is everything got succeed, and they wanted to deploy to the end users. In if you are going with in place deployment means the existing application which is running in your EC2 instance will be destroyed, that is will be deleted. Okay, so it is going to delete and it will going to replace those files with the new file. So to do all this process it will take few minutes, right? So to delete the existing file and need to update the things. Okay, so this is the process which is going to happen during the in place deployment methodology. Okay, so that is updates the existing instance directly, it will going to update that files everything, may involve brief, that is downtime during the update process. Another one is blue green deployment. So deploys the new versions to separate set of instance. Here we can able to manage the another EC2 instance to deploy the new application, that is version 2. Okay, that is we call it as green environment, and switch traffic to them once the deployment is successful. So once the process has been deployed, so we can divert the traffic, all incoming traffic to that newer server. So on that case, the existing, that is v1 version 1 application is running in that another server, so there won't be any downtime. So in between for a few minutes, application may go down and automatically we will be directing to the newer version, like that. Okay, so ensures zero downtime and rollback safety also. So if in case something went wrong during this, so on that case might get crash, so that can be avoided using the blue green deployment. So blue green deployment is something related to the canary deployment model which is available in the Kubernetes. We have an option like canary deployment model, right? So we can divert the application traffic subject to deployment. Fine. So we just understood what exactly is all about code deploy and all. We'll go and try to create everything in practical. Okay, so just get into your AWS console. From there you just search for code deploy. Okay, so automate code deployment. Okay, so we'll go ahead. So in previously we have already created code build as well as code pipeline. If you haven't watched that video, please do visit the previous one, and thereafter you come to code deploy. Okay, so we'll try to go and we'll create the new application. Okay, so what is my application? Let's go and create the web app. Okay, so just name the application and where do you want to deploy your application. So we have three options. One is EC2, if you want to deploy your application on EC2, or if you want to deploy your application on Lambda, or if you want to deploy it on the container, elastic container store. Okay, so we'll go with EC2 instance as of now. Okay, so now we just created the upper part. You can assume that we just created with the initial stage, that is how can I say, with the pre-requirements, just a UI things. Okay, so we just chop some vegetables before we going to cook. Okay, so but we have already planned where to cook, that is using the which vessel, that is EC2. Okay, we took all the requirements or the utensils things, fine. So now before we go and create deployment group, we have mentioned here, right, in which platform we thought of deploying our application is EC2. So before we going to deploy the group, we need to have EC2 instance running, right? So for that we shall go and create the EC2. Just come here and type EC2, or if you have recently visited, go there. Okay, hit launch instance, just name whatever you want. I'll be reading this and I will be choosing the Ubuntu as the server, that is operating system. I just go with free tier. Okay, just select the key pair. So if you do not have key pair, just go and create it here. Okay, so either you can create and the new security group, or you can go with the existing one, however you want. Just to optimize the things, I will be going with the older security group. I will go and show what is the basic things you need to. Though if you are not going with the existing one, just allow the HTTPS and HTTP. Since we will be deploying the web application, you need to access outside, right? For that, the port 80 as well as 443 should be enabled, that is HTTPS and HTTP. Okay, so just go and done that. Okay, I think seems good. Okay, just hit launch instance. Okay, so either connect from your the console, or you can just connect it from your local machines too, however you are if you are comfortable. So during explanation, I just mentioned that code deploy is an agent, right? So between the post bill as well as the server. So the agent need to copy all those build files and should place in the server and run the things. So if you are going with manual things, the human need to take place all those process, right? So human will be replaced by the code deploy agent. So now we just have our server and we need to install the agent, right? We'll go and try to install the code deploy agent in my server. To do though, just go here and AWS Code Deploy agent install. Okay, click here. Okay, so from where do you want to install? So if you want to install through the system manager or the command line, just select the command line, and here I will be using the Ubuntu server, so I will be going with Ubuntu. Okay, so just copy, and that is go and follow the instruction to install the things. We'll go and see. Okay, and we'll clear the screen. So this will update the packages if something has been logged post release of that version of operating system. So fine, so once we have, if you have updated your system, so this will be the agent of the code deploy, that is Ruby. Okay, so we'll go and install that. So it will take some few minutes. Okay, so once after that, we'll try to get webget. Okay, so now we are done with this and they are asking us to navigate to the route one. So anyhow, we are already in the route. Okay, look here, we are already in the Ubuntu itself only. So now enter the following command. Okay, so the bucket name is the name of the Amazon S3 bucket that contains the code deploy resource kit. What they are trying to tell is, so if we are passing this command, we need to update two things. One is bucket name as well as the region. So what they are trying to convey us is, so the bucket which is already available in the AWS, but we need to provide the proper input. Okay, so where we going to get the value for these variables? So just click on the resource kit bucket named by region, open in another tab, or if you are comfortable you can go with the same tab itself. Initially copy this command and paste it here. Okay, so I will go and replace the region first. That is, where is my, how do you find out the region? Just navigate to the URL, you will get this, so where you are in, or else you can get it from the region here also. So the easiest way is you can get it from here itself. So I just replace the one value, and the another value I need to replace is, here is my Europe, Stockholm is my bucket name. Okay, this is my name of my bucket. So how you going to find this means, look here, in which region I am working, in Stockholm. So that's the reason I am just going and creating the bucket there. Okay, so just replace that in the name of bucket. Okay, so this will going to import the file. Okay, now we are good to go. Okay, so we just imported and follow the command. Okay, so now we are done with importing the bucket. So now what we need to do, we need to install the app, that is the agent which is available in the S3 bucket. We just grant the permission for that file. So now they are asking us to do one of the following. They are asking us to do any one of these, not all. So we'll go with the latest one. Okay, so it will the command itself will look for the latest one and it will install as accordingly. Okay, so now we just done with the things, that is we just install the agent on our server. So why do we require agent? The agent one who going to take care all the stuff post build is successful. So the agent will go and fetch where the build is located, the resultant build is located. From there he going to fetch that file whatever we have written or we have instructed, and take that file, and he will going to store the file in this server and he will run that. So for all those things we have already written the code. Okay, so now let us see whether my agent is active or not. Okay, if agent is not active, nobody can able to do, right? So either the human should do, or the agent should be active thing. So now anyhow we have installed the agent, and we have also created the, that is we also mentioned the where I wanted to deploy my application. Okay, so to interact, like the code deploy wants to communicate with the EC2 instance. For that we need to provide the permission. Okay, so what permission needs to be provided, like so the agent inside the EC2 instance wants to speaks to the code deploy application, saying that, so whatever the things you are trying to run on me require the permission. Okay, so if I am going for some organization, nobody will going to let me in because I do not have proper ID card, right? So only the authorized person can able to access that. So in this case also same. Assume that EC2 instance is an organization and code deploy is an employee. So the employee wants to access inside the organization. So he required permission, right, or the ID card to get inside this, right? Likewise, here also we need to update the role. Role is nothing but the permission we are giving to communicate within the services. Okay, so by default, these that is permissions won't be granted. So what the additionally we need to provide the permissions. Okay, so where you can get that permission, just navigate to IAM roles. Okay, so from here you can able to see these roles. Fine. So we already have some roles which are created so by the Amazon itself. So even we can have, I have already created the custom role. Fine, that is EC2 code deploy. So just an hour ago. So here what are the permission I have granted? So here S3 full access and AWS deploy code deploy full access. Okay, so why I have taken two means as of now you just concentrate on the AWS code deploy full access because the organization is trying to access the employee, right? Or the employee is trying to access the organization. For that, I have granted the permission here. Okay, so how do you integrate this permission or the role to your services? Just select the application or the server, go to action, come to security and modify IAM role. Okay, so here I will go and choose the EC2 code deploy. Okay, I will be updating the role. So once after updating the role, you just go and again either you can type restart or start, whichever is okay. So authentication, okay, fine. So it is asking for the password. Okay, okay, we are running in the things. Okay, sudo service. Okay, wait. Okay, just I took root access to my server and from there I just added the things. We'll go and check the status of the agent, whether is active or not. Okay, so now is active, up and running. So now we are done with installing the agent. Now we need to additionally install the Apache server, right? So since we will be deploying the application here. Okay, so apt install Apache 2. So now we just install with our Apache 2 things and we'll see whether we can able to access the things or not. Okay, so now the Apache 2 is installed in my server. So only we are left with deploying the application. Fine. So let it be there, and this also let it be there. Okay. So what all the things we have done so far? We just created the destination that where I wanted to deploy my application. So in that server, I just install the agent, one who is going to take care of deploying the application by taking the files from in the storage or the targeted things where I have deployed. Okay. So there I have installed the agent, and I have granted the permission to speak, that is speak to that is code deploy from the EC2 instance. Fine. So now we need to create the deployment group. That is just I have mentioned here I want to deploy it on the EC2, but on which EC2 I haven't mentioned it, right, in the code deploy. So for that we'll go and mention where I wanted to deploy. So we'll go and create the deployment group. So create deployment group is nothing but you are mentioning in which EC2 instance you wanted to deploy. Okay, so just provide the deployment group name. Here also I gave the same thing. Okay, and here also you need to provide the permission. So the same thing what we provided here, right? So we just granted the things, right? EC2 wants to speak with code deploy. Again, vice versa. Code deploy want to speak with EC2. So whenever an EC2 instance wants to request the code deploy, so EC2 instance should have the permission to speak with code deploy. Likewise, code deploy want to send some data to EC2 instance, means even code deploy should have the access to EC2 instance. For that we'll go and see the permission, what are the permission I have granted. Okay, see here, code deploy EC2. So always use the naming convention so that you can get things. Here I have mentioned the EC2 instance full access, that is I am granting the permission, that is code deploy can able to communicate with EC2 instance. Okay, so we are done with this. We just go and minimize the things. Okay, and here we have a deployment type. So we saw, right, in place means it will going to replace the existing one. Fine. So another one is blue green. So we can deploy in multiple servers to avoid the downtime of the application. Fine. So environmental configuration. So I have just mentioned the EC2. In what EC2? Whether do you have an auto scaling group? We can just mention with if we have, or anymore we will be deploying our application in the EC2 instance, right? For that purpose I will be choosing this EC2 instance. The name. So either we can go with tagging your application, that is instance, or directly by default it will go and take the name. Okay, and install AWS Code Deploy agent. So they are asking me to install. So during the creation of this group only they will ask for the installation. So anymore we have already installed the agent in our EC2 instance. Okay, so it's not required as of now. Okay, so I don't want any load balancer to be created. Okay, just go and create the deployment. Before that we come back again. So here I have decided to deploy my application on the EC2 instance post build is successful. Okay, so in which EC2 instance, in what deployment strategy I am using, in place. In which EC2 instance I am trying to deploy, here I have selected it. Okay, so on premises, if you have multiple EC2 instance, better to go with tags so that the tag will be visible. So let me show you people how to use the tags. Just go here, tag. Okay, so manage tag. Instead of name you can by default they have taken, or else you can go with project here web app. Okay, just save the thing. Okay, and again come back here. Okay, so I need to refresh the page. It will take some time. Okay, Okay, we'll go and do that also. Okay, just providing the same thing, that is the permission I am given to speak to EC2 instance, and here I will be mentioning the EC2 instance. Instead of name, I just got with replace with project name. Here the value will be web app. Okay, that is our name of the EC2 instance, or the tag you can, the value can be anything, you can give anything. Okay, so here I don't want anything, just disable the load balancer, since we are doing it for practice things, we don't require. Okay, and move. Now the group or the deployment group what we just created is, here just I mentioned that, so whatever the data I am getting, or the whatever the build after this X is completed is going to get, right, I have just linked the services here. So where I wanted to deploy my application, I have just mentioned the path or the pipeline. Okay, so that is in other word I can say that here I am mentioning the destination, so in where my application to be deployed, that's it I have done so far. Still I have not yet configured how it should be placed, where it should be placed, like that. Okay, so we are done with all these things, that is we just link where my server or the my software to be deployed. Okay, now we'll go inside the web app, sorry, come back. So the deployment group is defined here, we'll go for deployment. As of now, the actual deployment going to take place here, so here we will go and deploy the application. So before we go and deploy our application, we need to select the group, that is where we want, where we thought of deploying our application, that will be chosen here, that is on EC2 instance we will be deploying, and the deployment type is in place, and I have provided the IAM role also. Here in two ways we can able to grab the things. So you might have doubt that still anyhow we have already built our application, though why it is asking for the permission for our source code like things. Okay, so here we are not passing any source code, we just saw, right, you need to have this one, that is app specification.yaml file. So for this file we will be providing the location here, that's it. Okay, so I have already authenticated or linked my GitHub account. If you haven't linked in it, you can just type something here and just hit the connect button, so it will go and connect to your GitHub by providing the credentials. Once after that you will be getting this one. Okay, and from here you need to choose, or you need to provide the GitHub repo name. Okay, so just navigate to your GitHub, or else I can, okay, copy this address and paste it. Okay, so as of now it is asking us for the commit ID. Why? Because we haven't linked our deployment process to the pipeline. Okay, so for test case we just go and get the latest commit ID. Okay, so you just take this commit ID, come here and paste it over. Fine. So by this whatever the commit we have made changes in this ID, that will be deployed in our application. Okay, now we'll go and hit the create deployment. So once after the deployment is done, we can able to get the progress here, so whether the deployment is going well or not. So by watching the instance we can watch the logs also. So now application stop downloading bundles like things and all, it's all pending, so it will take few minutes to run. We'll wait till it's completes. So once the deployment stage is good, we can go and integrate the process with the pipeline, so that if any commits have been done in my application or the repository, so automatically the deployment will go and take place there. Okay, we'll refresh the thing. So it's taking quite long. So sorry, I just forgot to show you people the app specification file. Okay, so here is my app specification file. Okay, if you can't able to view it, okay, hopefully it is visible now. So once after creating the deployment, here I just created the deployment right here. So the this will go and fetch this file in my repository. Okay, that is appspec.yaml file. Okay, so here I will be versioning dimension 0, the operating system, the top level is Linux, and here I am performing some copy operations. So from where it is getting copy, as of now it is getting copied from the GitHub itself. So if once after linking to the pipeline, it will go and copy the things from the S3 bucket, since the pipeline stores the data, build data in the S3 only. Okay, so here what I have mentioned here, source, that is index.html, this file. So copy and paste it here like that. So we'll go and re-verify here, so whether the things are available or not. Okay, so still it is showing pending. I think no, it has not yet done. So it is taking too long, I don't know why. So in which instance it is running, that is also showing here. So you can get the instance ID here, 175, here it is. We'll stop the deployment and we'll try to redeploy it. So we'll resume back once the status got changed from pending to either failed or succeed. So Now we got just encountered an error. We'll go and try to rectify that. So code deploy agent wasn't able to receive the lifecycle event. That is, the code deploy agent, whatever we installed on the EC2, cannot able to get the lifecycle event. So check code deploy agent logs on your host. Make sure the agent is running and can connect to code deploy server. So we have already granted the permission to. So we'll go and re-verify the things. EC2 code deploy. Okay, it's good. So here we need to go and check with the log. Okay. So here is the command to check the log. Okay. So missing credential. Please check if the instance started with an IAM instance profile. Okay, so what it's saying is, so once after updating the instance or the IAM role, we did not restart our server, or the we did not restart the instance, right? The command was, we are getting some error, right? So that was the issue what they are trying to poses here. Okay, so we'll try to restart the agent again. We'll clear it and we'll try to restart the code play agent. And we'll check for status. Fine, so we just let us go and replace the restart with status. Okay, now it's running good, and we'll try to redeploy the application. So we'll see whether we can able to get it or not. Okay, so till there, we just navigate to the path where we have provided to deploy our application. So as of now, the index.html only is available. Fine. So now also we just encountered some errors. The deployment failed because the specified file is already exist. So why it is showing the error? So whatever the things we are trying to copy is already exist here. Okay, initially. So we need to remove this. Okay, and we'll go back and look here. Now whatever we are trying to deploy is success now. Okay, look here. So application stopped. It's okay. Downloading the bundles, that is from where it is trying to copy. Everything is done. Pre-install, after, post-install, everything. So now we'll go and try to ls the things. Okay, now all things are available. Okay, now we'll go and try to refresh the things. Look here. Now the application we can able to access it, right? So fine. So in previous video, we use S3 static bucket hosting to deploy our application. In this video, we just integrated another stage, that is code deploy, but still we have not automated the deployment thing. So all the time I need to go here and I need to re and that is I need to click on the redeploy to deploy the latest application. So I don't want to do that. So since we will be using the automation, we need to do automation things using the pipeline. So okay, now we'll go and navigate to pipeline which we have created in the previous video. Okay, we'll just get in. Now as of now we have two things. One is source, that is it is going to pull the code from the GitHub, and from once after pulling it, it will go and run the code, complete code. If you have that is a web application, Java application, whatever. Okay, so it will go and run. So after that we need to have another thing in my pipeline line, that is deployment. Okay, we'll go and add that. Okay, from where just edit the pipeline. Okay, and hit on the add stage. So here I will be deploy code deploy. Just I have provided the name of the stage. Okay, so here what action to be made once after the build is success, add group. Here just deploy who is the provider, that is from where I am getting the things. Okay, sorry, action provider. So who is going to take action? So once after the build is success, that is the code deploy will go and take the action. So in which region code deploy is available? In Stockholm, Europe. So input artifacts, just take from the build artifacts. So when you are taking from the build artifacts, so whatever the build resultant have been stored in the S3 bucket, with the help of pipeline, from there it will going to fetch the file. So if you are going with source artifact means, so where it is going to fetch from the GitHub itself. Okay, so let it fetch from the here, and we have to choose the application name. So what is your application name? That is we created the deployment, right, by placing the name. Okay, that is the name of my application. That is here I just provided, right? So in which environment my application to be deployed. So that is we created EC2 instance and we integrate here, right? That is, and here I will be choosing the deployment group. Okay, that's all. You just hit the done button. Now we are done with configuring the pipeline. We just go and save the thing. Okay, now okay, now the application is run. Once let me show you people the pipeline. So now the pipeline is done. Okay, so we'll try to commit the changes in the GitHub repository and we'll try to rectify the changes. So whether my pipeline, that is the DevOps thing, whatever the tool we are using, it is going good or not. Okay, so we'll maximize the padding. Okay, we need to edit it. Okay, so we'll create padding. From red we'll create which color? We'll give the orange color. Fine, so we shall commit the changes. So we'll keep wait here. See here, so automatically the webhook got triggered and it is pulling the new code from the GitHub repository. So once after pulling the code completely, the next process is going to happen is it will going to build the code. So since we are going with web application, there is no action is going to take place. So if you are going with any that is Java based application or Python based application, so whatever the build specification, let me show you that is also. So whatever the build specification we have provided here, that is going to run there, and from there it will going to store the data in the things. Okay, now the build got succeed. So now the deployment is happening right now. So in this stage, what is happening exactly? So whatever the latest code got updated here, that is going to be deployed in my EC2 instance here. Okay, so we'll wait for till the status get updated, whether it is successful or not, we'll see. So once after getting this successful, we'll go and see the changes in the application. Okay, so now we just got that the application is successful. We'll try to refresh the thing. Okay, it's taking quite thing. So the margin has been updated, the orange color haven't updated. Okay, so we'll go and try to make changes in the image. Okay, so here I have given the 100%, instead that we'll provide 50%, as well as okay, so we shall comment it and we'll see. Now again the status got changed into in progress. So now everything is success. We'll go and try to refresh the thing. Look here, so everything got updated dynamically. So I did not do anything, just I committed the code. So the building and the deployment to my server, everything is been taken care by the code deploy only. So this is all about the pipeline, which includes all the things from that is code build. Initially we start with code build. So once you just done with the code build, we'll go and prepare the pipeline, so to test whether the things are going good or not. So once after that, we can go and create the deploy also, or vice versa, way however you want. You can, once the build is working fine, you can just create the deployment also. You can test it independently. Altogether you can go and create the pipeline by linking all the resources, and here is the artifacts, things and all. Okay, so you might wonder that I just provided the build, right, their build at artifact, sorry, artifacts, right? So where it is going to store once the build is successful. Okay, so we'll go here. So once the build is successful, it will be stored here, web demo build artifacts. So here it will be my file. Okay, since they are all encrypted one, okay, not okay, here also we do have fine. So this is all about the developer tool we have in the AWS environment, which provide the automation, that is which help us to do the automation. So from the running your application, testing your application, integrating your application, and deploying your application to your desired thing. Okay, so okay, so here are the few similar tool which are used instead of code deploy tool. So even we can use Jenkins, all these are same. So when you are going with Azure, so we have Azure DevOps things. Okay, that is another one is Sprinker, Ansible. We can also go with Ansible by automating the things all about. So thank you for watching this session. Hopefully it is helpful for you people and you have understand what exactly is happening, how we are able to achieve it, how we can configure the things. Fine. Thank you for being a part of this session. Thank you all.